Hello, friends, and welcome to Pour and Explore wine, food, and travel stories from around the world. I'm Nick Elliott, the Wine Guy. This is where we sip, savor, and wander through the world of wine, explore incredible food, and uncover the stories behind unforgettable destinations. Each week, you'll hear engaging conversations with wine pros, chefs, travelers, and fellow enthusiasts, plus educational episodes to help you sip smarter and explore deeper. So, grab a glass, pull up a chair, and let's pour, explore, and celebrate the good life. Let's dive in. You know, Sonoma County is often described as the quote unquote earthy neighbor to Napa's gated communities. But even here, it's easy to get lost in the noise of the 100-point scores and the frantic tasting room checklists. Most people visit this region with a GPS and a rigid itinerary, rushing from one bar to the next without ever actually putting their boots in the dirt. Today's guest is here to change that. Gerri O'Riordan is the founder of Sonoma Luxury Getaways, and she brings a level of dirt tested authority to travel that you won't find in a textbook. Before she was curating five-star experiences in the vineyards, she spent years in clinical research and medical science, a world where the smallest details determine the outcome of high stakes results. She's taken that meticulous scientific eye and applied it to the world of hospitality, ensuring that the logistics of her trip are so seamless that the guest is free to actually experience the destination. We're going to go deep into a concept that she calls the slowcation. It's a radical approach to travel that prioritizes depth over distance. It's the idea that you'll learn more about the soul of Sonoma by visiting two wineries and having a long, spontaneous lunch than you ever will by checking six boxes off a list. In this conversation, we are dismantling the elitism often found in luxury travel. We're talking about why you should stop worrying about what the critics say and start trusting your own palate. We're exploring the farm charm of backroad hamlets and the importance of getting purposefully lost, and why a champagne stopper is the most essential tool in a traveler's bag. So pour a glass of something you love, pull up a chair, and let's head into the heart of Sonoma with Gerri O'Riordan. Gerri, thank you so very much for being on the show today. So happy to have you here.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I'm really looking forward to this. Thanks, Nick, for having
Yeah,
me.
absolutely. It was great meeting you a few weeks ago. We met on a little networking event,
Hmm.
and we just happened to be paired up. The two of us, wine and food and travel folks. So I
Yeah.
think it was fortuitous that way that we were able together. And I from our 30 seconds into our conversation that I had to have you on the show. So let's start with a little background. Now, the way I understand it, you were in nursing field, clinical research, and
Hmm.
so on. Very detail oriented professions. Something like
Hmm.
very high level. With
Hmm.
how does that inform what you do today with Sonoma Luxury Travel?
Obviously, it's not the same field. I was in
Mhm.
the medical science research field. However, it does translate in a lot of similarities. I love the science of wine. I love the diversity of wine. I continue to learn all the time. And as far as what I do now, it is very detail oriented. I do a lot of multitasking, a lot of organizing, and it's all with people, obviously. So I'm very
Mhm.
much a people person, and I've always been in the helping field. And now that I'm retired, I couldn't sit around and, tend to my garden all day. I wanted to continue being around people and doing the things I love to do. And so that's what really led me to this, and really how to share Sonoma with all that it has. It's more than the wine. Obviously, many come for the wine, but there is
Absolutely.
so much more in Sonoma, and I love to share it. So it's a combination of my passion, my detailed approach to setting up the tours, the creativity, working in clinical research. You were always working with something new. It was never, it was a new, novel, either a drug or a device. So you had to create as you went along because
Right.
the first time you would be involved in a protocol and executing it. And that's what I do now. I create tours based on the trends, the environment, the needs, the wants, and I continue to meet very, very interesting places and people in Sonoma that just continue to make me feel so thankful that I'm in a place that is constantly changing and
Yeah.
evolving.
Yes, it's certainly not the Sonoma it was 20 years ago or even 10 years ago, in a good way,
Yeah.
absolutely. Good way. And I want to talk a lot more about those people and places that you've met and seen, while you're there. It really is. Sonoma is one of the most beautiful areas of California, and this is a huge state for our listeners across the pond. California is massive. So there's a lot of places to go, a lot of very beautiful places. I can't really think of an ugly place in California, but Sonoma is definitely one of the more beautiful places. For our listeners who may not have ever been or even seen pictures, paint us a picture of Sonoma County.
Oh, okay. Well, it does have the 4 seasons. So
Mhm.
if I was to paint a picture, there may be 4 separate pictures. So what I'll
Yes.
paint now is the spring picture, which is one of
Mhm.
my favorite seasons. I do love all the seasons in Sonoma, but spring is just it has that newness that we get with spring. The vineyards are still dormant, and they have been that
Mhm.
way since probably December.
Mm.
But we have the most green everywhere, and it reminds me of Ireland. I'm originally Irish, so I can say that with
Okay.
confidence.
Uh,
Um, and amongst the vineyards, and of course, we have lots of vineyards everywhere you drive, whether you're going from Santa Rosa, north or south, you'll see vineyards right off the freeway. You can go off the freeway and go down winding roads, and there'll be vineyards on hillsides, on flatland, terraced, all sorts. And amongst the dormant vineyards now are the mustard seeds. And when the
mm,
sun is shining, I just sometimes have to stop the car or get out of the
mm.
car and just take a photo. It never turns out as good as it should,
Absolutely.
but
Yes.
it is so beautiful. Of course, we have all the oak trees, and they are a very special tree. They're so wise looking, and they're all starting to come alive again now, and they're quite enormous with very gnarly trunks and branches.
Mhm.
And well, the greenery, as I mentioned, is everything from the weeds and the grasses that come up, and some of them are also quite pretty in their own rights.
Mhm.
But we're also starting to see the cherry blossoms, and they're
Mhm.
everywhere. So there's lots of blossoming going on, and the rose bushes, they're starting a little early, I know for some places, but it's just that new life that's coming. And of course, the days are longer now. The
Yes.
sun is starting to shine more, and you just want to be outside and just absorb it and take it all in. It is absolutely stunning.
Yeah. One of my favorite things, I'm a transplant as well, coming in from the East Coast of the US. And one of the things that I still am in awe of to this day is in the spring when the poppies start blooming.
Mm.
You've got those beautiful orange poppies that just carpet
That's
the
right.
hill,
Yes.
and I love this time of year. The beautiful oranges and red
Yes.
and green. Yeah, it's really, really a stunning time of year. So,
Yes.
thank
Yeah.
you for giving us that visual there. You know, there's really so much to choose from
Mm,
in that area, when it comes to entertainment, vineyards, restaurants, cute little hamlets and
mm.
bigger towns, and how do you and now putting on your tourism expert hat, how do you find the little hidden gems in Sonoma that people aren't necessarily going to find by doing just a Google search or something like that?
Well, I just like to explore. And
Mhm,
so I just get in my car and I grab my husband or if friends are visiting, take them out and I'll go east inland
mhm,
towards the Napa side, so cross the valley, and there's lots of little hamlets and nooks and crannies in those areas. I also can head west to the coast and, of course, either follow the Russian River, which again has lots of little towns dotted along the
mm,
river. And then I can go up and down the coast and come back another way. So there's no shortage between the redwoods, the coast, the small little towns that have their very, some are so quirky, some are, there's that lovely, I call it the farm charm appeal, and lots of antique stores and adorable restaurants and lots of room for browsing and artists. We have a lot of artists that reside in Sonoma,
yes, yes.
uh, amongst all the hospitality people in the food world, in the wine world. So it's really just a lovely mixture of creativity.
Yeah, yeah, getting your boots on the ground and my motto is one of my mottos is keep wondering and wandering. And I
Absolutely.
truly believe that, so, you think about a place and you get the opportunity to visit the place and, just get out there and have fun with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes, one
please
of
no,
my
go ahead.
favorite things to do is if I'm visiting a new city, for example, is I love to get lost.
Mhm.
I have one place in mind and then I like to get lost. Of course, we never get lost now because we all have GPS.
Mhm.
But I do that in Sonoma. I will sometimes just drive and I'll let the car take me. And it has that topography where you can go into little winding roads and take another road off that road and then take another road off that road. And then
Yeah.
sure enough, you'll stumble upon a vineyard or a small little restaurant or a little studio. So it it's really the best way I get to explore places. And can't say enough about getting lost, but I'm really here so you don't get too lost.
Yes, absolutely, and I wanna get to that in 100%. If you can think of anything, if there was a myth about that area that you would like to bust on the show today, what do you think that might be?
Oh gosh, a myth that I would like to bust. A good myth or a bad myth?
Well, either way, it's I find when I travel and like you, I travel extensively, so it's, I'll hear a rumor about a place before I
Mhm.
go, like, oh, the people in this place are not very friendly, or the food in this area is not that great, or just to give a little bit more information. And if you can't think of anything,
Yeah, well, I guess I one of the things I hear is that wine tasting used to be much more affordable, and now
Mm.
it's become quite expensive.
Sure.
And so most vineyards now do charge a tasting fee. However, I find there's a lot of vineyards, they're what they want to do is sell their wine. And if you like their wine, you're going to leave with a bottle and your fee will be waived. So
Yes.
there's also vineyards where they're not as expensive. And
Mhm.
so I think it's just knowing where to go and what you get for your buck. And if you're a if you want to drink the best Pinot Noir that Robert Parker has deemed, 97 points, you are probably going to pay for that.
Of
But
course.
there's lots and lots of great wine that don't have to cost that much. And I think that's one of the myths that good wine you have to spend a lot of money on. And I think there's a lot of good wine that you taste that isn't going to break the bank.
Yes, I couldn't agree more, and I would say, you brought up another myth, if you don't mind, I don't speak a whole lot about this on the show, but, or at least not up to this point, but I feel very strongly that, folks like Robert Parker, very respectable, they're amazing people, they've been in the business for a long time, but their opinion is their opinion. And that's the way that I've always looked at, the silver medals and the 98 point ratings and all of that stuff is those are great, but that's one person's opinion, or a panel of people's opinion about that wine, and in my estimation, the only opinion that matters is yours,
Very
so if
well,
you
it's such
walk
a
in.
personal thing.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, food, wine, and,
Mhm,
even travel is such a personal thing,
mhm.
and you can take recommendations and, Rick Steves is, an amazing writer and someone who has, traveled the world and is an expert in travel and so on. He doesn't always get it right sometimes, when it comes to travel for me. So similarly, Robert Parker's 98 point rating on a Pinot Noir doesn't necessarily affect how I'm going about that particular vintage or whatever. But I digress. So I think that's
No, but
another myth.
we covered 2 myths in one. No, very
Exactly right.
I totally
Exactly right.
agree. It's a drinking wine is a very personal thing where one wine may not taste the same for other. It's our palate, and
Oh, yeah.
so what we eat with our wine, and if we have it just on its own. So there's lots of nuances to it.
Absolutely, and if you think about it this way, enjoying a glass of wine, let's say we had 2 equal glasses of wine from the same bottle, and imagine drinking that same glass of wine, at home on your sofa, maybe some of your favorite people are around or maybe, you know, and maybe the TV is on and so on. I believe, and I know because I've been there and I've done it, is that wine is going to taste different as if I was sitting out in the middle of a vineyard watching the sunset with the hawk flying over,
Mhm.
at the end of spring day, watching the poppies and all of that stuff. That wine is going to taste different. So in some respects, the experience has a lot to say about the enjoyment of what's in your glass, I
Which
think.
is so interesting, isn't it? Yes, all our senses can be aroused differently depending where we are, who we're with.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, I said experiences earlier, so let's talk about experiences. That is what you sell in your company, and, I wanted to have you on today because I wanted to learn a little bit more about, what you're offering folks who are coming into Sonoma County. So, you set up either custom or kind of pre-arranged tours?
Mhm,
for your clients, and your clients are coming in from all over the world. Give
mhm.
us a little taste of some of your favorites.
Oh, well, so my personal tours that you spoke about, I call them my signature tours,
Mhm,
and they're constantly evolving. Some of my favorite ones, oh gosh. Well, of course, all of these are places I have been to. I don't
mhm,
create any tour unless I have personally been there. I've met
mhm,
the team, I've experienced the atmosphere and tasted the wines. Or again, not all my tours have wine, so I will throw in
mhm,
other experiences, a walk in the redwoods. In the summer, we have the lavender fields, a visit to the ocean, a walk in to a honey store, an olive mill. So the experiences, I try to bundle them so there's a theme. So
mhm,
some examples, I'm a bit of a Francophile. So I have, for example, a day in France, a jour de France. And on that tour, you will start with breakfast at a boulangerie, a French bakery with the most amazing croissants. You will follow that then with a visit to a chateau, and it was built in the style of a French chateau, and it's
mhm,
a the the servers there, many of them are sommeliers, so the
mhm,
chateau itself is known for its Chardonnays and its Pinots, and you do a tasting either inside the house, which is full of French inspired interior design. The grounds, again, are all French inspired. And so to continue the theme, again, in summer, I'll take you to the lavender field. And then the end of the day, you'll finish at a champagne bar and enjoy an assortment of delicious champagnes or sparkling wines, has both. So that would be a day in France. And I
mhm.
choose everything based on what I love about France. Of course, you're not going to get you cannot duplicate it 100%, of
Of
course.
course.
But I think Sonoma does a very good job of recreating a lot of the old European world. And when you think of
Yes.
the history of the grapes, a lot of them are originally from the Italian, the French, and of course, we had the Mexican Spanish
Mhm,
in the early, very early days of the grape growing in California. So I love to create the history. I love to create an ambience. I've got a girls want to have fun trip. And that one, of course, will have some shopping, some massages, uh, some wine tasting, again, some bubbles. I love my bubbles. So I have an absolutely bubbly tour, and that's going to take you to three different sparkling areas. I have a
wow.
Pour and Pacific Ocean tour. So I think you get the idea. So I have a lot of fun creating the tours that have a theme. I have an art and wine tour, and it will
Mhm.
take you to one of the largest outdoor sculptures in North America at a winery, which is amazing. Um,
Wow. Wow.
so yeah, there's no shortage of beautiful places to see in Sonoma.
Most definitely, and thank you for pointing out the ocean. People may not know that Sonoma County is, right on the Pacific Ocean. There and rivers, and valleys and mountains and everything else. So the landscape of the area that you're talking about, in addition to what you mentioned before, is also very water centric too. You
Yes.
you can be standing on a beach, or on a cliff, next to the Pacific Ocean within 20-30 minutes, of, a winery, which is a very cool thing. So stay on the coast and come inland for a little bit of wine, and then dine al fresco back out on the ocean. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
so many beautiful options again to choose
Mm-hmm.
from.
Indeed.
You one of the
one of the things that you promote is are slocations, using your word. Why do you think that it's better to do less and slow down while you're on vacation? Tell me your philosophy behind that.
Well, there's nothing I despise more than a tour where the agenda is so tight, you cannot even take a photo or just really experience it for all that it has to offer. And I've been on those tours and I do not find them enjoyable. There's nothing
Yes.
memorable other than rushing and trying to see something because you have to see it. And so the slowcation mode for me is allows for some spontaneity and it allows for some self-discovery so that you aren't rushing and crossing a list and ticking off what you have seen. It's more about what there is to discover in the day, and you have a set. So my trips are generally 8 hours, but there's enough time so that you
Mhm.
can still get that flavor.
Mhm.
And of course, and to be honest, I find three wineries in a day too much. I find for me, maybe
Yes.
in my younger days I could do three, but these days two is plenty.
Mhm.
Because at each tasting, you generally get about 4 pours. So that's 8 different pours you're going to get in the day, and each pour has its own sensation. So you really
Yes.
want to savor that and enjoy it and to be able to really be able to taste the difference between each. It's not about throwing it back and drinking. Now, of course, if that's what you want to do on the wine tour, I'm not going to judge you, but being yeah, an 8-hour day with 3 vineyards is probably the max, but I
Mhm.
try to cater the day so you're not spending too much time driving, so that the visits between each vineyard is not too much of a drive. However, I do take you on all the scenic roads. So with every tour, I give you a map so that you can plug that into your phone and your
Mhm.
Google, and it will take you down the scenic roads because that to me is part of the beauty, is the area between A, B, and C, and
Yes.
everything that you can stop if you want. And stop at a local store or get out and walk around and smell the depending on what season it is, just smell the air. So that's really what slocation is about.
Yeah. Everyone can, obviously hop on the interstate, so that runs through the middle of the area, but I agree that the back roads are, much, much more enjoyable. You're not gonna get there as fast, but, I promise you much better experience. I did an episode recently where where I offered some of my, travel tips,
Mhm.
and one of my tips was to not be so rigid with your schedule that you can't relax, that you didn't get to this place, exactly at 1 o'clock, or you didn't get to, I mean,
Mhm.
obviously have reservations, you wanna get there on
Mhm.
time. That's all my hospitality friends are like, "No, no, don't tell them that." I have reservations, yes, you wanna be there on
Yeah.
time, but
Yes.
keeping your schedule loose enough to allow, as you pointed out, to be able to pull over your car and enjoy the sunset, or maybe
Mhm.
there's a herd of deer in a field that you pull over and take. I mean, whatever, you know, or just, sit down and enjoy the company of person or persons that you're with for 10 more minutes. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's a huge mistake. And for someone who, comes from, the wedding business, I worked in the wedding business for a very, very long time, and, my couples would ask, for advice. And one of the things that I always told them, and I bring it over to travel too, is keep your agenda, or the timeline of the evening a little more loose. Because if you don't cut the cake at exactly 10 o'clock, nothing's going to happen.
Mhm.
The reception venue's going to burn down. If you don't cut your cake exactly on time and so on. And I think being too rigid with your agenda can cause some anxiety, and I don't think it's as enjoyable. So
Absolutely.
thank you for pointing that out. I think that's a great point. Let me ask you this. Of all of your experiences, the things you plan, the tours that you plan, for your guests, what do you think is the soul of Sonoma County?
I I think Sonoma has definitely a soul. It's the people. The people in Sonoma are as passionate as I am. I don't know how many times in a conversation we all say, "Aren't we so lucky?"
Yes.
There is a genuine gratitude and love for the area. And so I think what that does is creates the soul where hospitality is very big in the area. So
Mhm.
there is not, people love to have or to share the space. And I think that creates more creativity. And so the soul is really about what the land can bring
Mhm.
and how then that can be turned into other, whether it's wine or food or creative outlets. And I think that is the soul of Sonoma. It's
Mhm.
it's a very earthy, grounded place of pride for everybody
Mhm.
who lives there. And that translates into a spirit of joy and friendliness.
Yes. And I couldn't agree with you more. Is the people in the area are so kind and warm-hearted, but they're also very proud of what they've built over so many years. Is just the beauty, and making sure that beauty is protected too. I
Mhm.
think has a lot to do with it. So they're proud of the area, they're proud of what they do, and the culture in Sonoma is, the life is a little bit slower. It's very grounded and rooted in family. It's
Mhm.
one of the two larger wine regions in California, and it feels more family oriented than one of the other, ones.
Mhm.
I don't want to say it out loud, but you know what I'm talking about. Everyone knows
You're
what
not
I'm
allowed to
talking about.
mention that word.
Yeah, we're not allowed to
The
mention
one.
it. Yes, the one over the map, but and great, and all of that, but Sonoma does have a soul. I think that's what you and I are both trying to say. There's something you can hold on to, a feeling that you can hold. I definitely agree more. And, it reminds me of where I came up in the wine industry, although it's more advanced. Sonoma is, I came up in Monterey County in the wine industry, moving there in 2004 and living there for, 15 years. It's it's about the people, it's about the land, it's about the local culture, the protecting of
Mhm.
the land, the
Mhm.
sustainability of the production of everything, and the hospitality. The hospitality
Mhm.
industry is huge
Mhm.
in those areas, and people feel that they grow up in hospitality families. You know,
Yes.
my father was a server at a restaurant. My grandfather was a sommelier at Pebble Beach, or I mean, whatever the case is, people grow up in those families. So the feeling of welcoming and
Mm,
service are kind of ingrained in their blood.
very much so. Yes.
Yeah. One-
Yeah.
So
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
after they call you, of course, and plan
Mhm.
whole day around wines and the beautiful things that they can do. If someone is planning a trip to the area, what other advice would you give them?
I think if you're coming in the summer, you would want to book early. We do
Hmm.
get very busy in the summer months. You know, with anything, planning is essential. And I think allow yourself to be open to some suggestions. You know, you may have an idea of what you think you like, and you may not know everything that there is. I do like to, on my custom tours, find out what people enjoy doing, and then I can offer recommendations, which might be something they didn't think about planning
Absolutely.
for their trip. Budget is also very important. So I always like to get up front, what is your budget? I mean, I'm not going to get it down to the dollar, but do you want to go very high-end luxury? We have that.
Mhm.
Do you want to be a little more budget-minded where you don't mind staying at a 3 or a 4-star and you can then splurge a little bit for dinner? Do you want to go to a Michelin star or would you prefer a little hole in the wall that has great food? Tell me what you like, what you enjoy.
That's great. And for someone who lives there, breathes there, eats there, and obviously you meet so many people, and vetting them, is not the right word, but understanding where they are in the world, and how what they do can benefit your customer, let's put it that way. So, I would say a huge part of what you do. And I know that your clients are very, very happy with the advice that you give them.
I I love to see people enjoy their time here. It's the best gift. And so it for me, if I get that feedback that they thoroughly enjoyed their day and it was just so awesome, then I know I'm doing the right thing. And a lot of it is that initial conversation and just trying to understand what is their like, what is their dislike. And everybody is very different. Some people want everything 5-star. And others
Hmm.
just completely want to avoid that. They want the small, simple, down to earth, quirky, the places that are just off the beaten track. So it's not a one fit all situation.
Yes. Well, I'm so glad you can accommodate just about everyone. That's amazing. I'm going to jump into the lightning round in just a minute, but I want you to tell the listeners, and I'll make sure that everything goes in the show notes as well. Tell your listeners how they can get a hold of
Well, my business is called Sonoma Luxury Getaways, and my tagline is basically Sonoma Getaways. And I have two ways you can book with me. You can go to my website and you can download a PDF itinerary. So if you're the type of traveler that is fine, it's like a self-guided tour. I'll give you an
Mhm.
11-page or how many pages, it's generally 10 to 15 pages, a breakdown of your day that will include your meals, where you stop, the maps, and what else do I put in there? Transport. Transport's very important, and I have partnered with several transport companies. So you can choose from the luxury to somebody driving your rental car. So I have a Tesla driver if you're more eco-conscious, and they all will give you a discount if you tell them you've booked with me. So you've pretty much paid for your PDF by that point. And
Amazing.
so then that's the tier 1 all the way to tier 4, which is your fully customizable, where I will book everything for you. If you just don't have the time, just tell me, we'll have that conversation that will be a little more involved and a little more personalized. So you have really every option depending on how much time you have to plan and what sort of day you're looking for. Sonoma Luxury Getaways on my website. That will have my contact information. You can shoot me an email. You can call me. I've also got an Instagram and a Facebook account, but I think the
Okay.
quickest way is text me or email me.
Perfect. So once again, that information, you'll find all of those links down in the show notes. So make sure that you check out, go follow Gerri on Instagram and give her a nice thumbs up and a follow. That would be awesome. All right, let's jump into the lightning round right now. A couple of quick questions just to round things out to get the blood pumping just a little bit. Gerri O'Riordan, Pinot Noir or Chardonnay?
Pinot Noir.
Okay, fantastic. Excellent answer. Excellent. I love Chardonnay too, but I'm a huge Pinot fan.
Oh,
I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt the lightning room for just a minute. I went to a wine tasting this morning. I spent everything, but I was at a wine tasting this morning, and I had the most amazing Pinot Noir from Alto Adige in Italy, and it was just
cool.
absolutely stunning. So I will be finding that wine so I can get it to my house
There
before
are
the end of
so
the
many
week.
good Pinots. The Russian River Pinots are delightful. I've
Yes,
just got to plug that one in, but yes,
of
Pinot is.
course. Amazing, amazing. Jerry, when you travel, what's the one thing you never leave your house without?
My champagne stopper.
Champagne stopper. Okay, I
Mhm,
like that
mhm,
one for me.
mhm.
I take that. I take that. Now, and finally, you don't need to name the restaurant if you don't want to, but what is the best dish in Sonoma County, in your opinion?
Oh, best dish in Sonoma County. Oh, that's a very tough one, Nick. That is very tough. Oh,
I
goodness.
always like to end with a stump.
I thought you were going to ask for the best restaurant, and that was going to be tough enough. I'm
Mhm.
not a big duck fan,
Okay.
but I read about Liberty Duck a few years
Mhm.
back, and it's a very famous duck that's farmed in Sonoma. And I decided one Thanksgiving that we would do duck, and
Mhm.
it was absolutely delicious. I bought it
Yes.
at one of the local stores that's known for its produce and everything local. And it was a delicious dish. So if you have an opportunity to get Liberty Duck in Sonoma, highly recommend it.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. Liberty Duck is the best duck from the West Coast. I highly recommend it. Amazing, Jerry. Thank you so much for your time. I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
being on the show.
Oh, goodness. You talk about all of the things I love in the world: travel, food, and wine. You could talk for hours.
Make sure you subscribe to the podcast, just like you. If you're listening, make sure you subscribe to the podcast because I know that you love it too. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks. Thank you, Nick.
There is so much power in the idea of slowing down. Whether you're standing in a vineyard in Sonoma or just opening a bottle at your own kitchen table, the moment of truth only happens when you stop rushing. Jerry's slowcation philosophy is a perfect reminder that the best experiences aren't bought, they're found when you have the bravery to step away from the scripted itinerary. If you're ready to see the real Sonoma, the one without with the mud on the boots and the authentic soul, reach out to Gerri at sonomaluxurygetaways.com or follow her journey on Instagram at Sonoma Luxury Getaways. You'll find those links down in the show notes as well. Her digital itineraries are the perfect street smart guide for anyone who wants to find those hidden gems that Google usually misses. And of course, you can put together some amazing travel for you. Just reach out to her and she'll be happy to put together an amazing trip. So I definitely highly recommend that. Remember that wine isn't a test and travel isn't a race. You trust your palate, trust your instincts, and never apologize for liking what you like. Thanks for listening to Pour and Explore, everyone. Keep wondering and wandering. Take care.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of Pour and Explore. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Love to hear your stories or questions. Drop me a message at cheers@thewineguy.vin. That's cheers@thewineguy.vin. Or let's connect on TikTok, Instagram, or Facebook. Grab those links at thewineguy.vin. Until next time, let's keep wondering and wandering. Cheers, everybody.